There comes a time when life will throw storms at you, not because you deserve them, but because you are strong enough to walk through them. And the secret, my friends, is not to let the storm see you shiver. The power of restraint is one of the most profound strengths a human being can develop, and yet it is often misunderstood. Many confuse restraint with weakness, as if choosing not to respond is the same as lacking the courage to speak. But the truth is, it takes a far greater measure of courage to hold your tongue when your pride urges you to lash out, to remain still when your emotions demand movement, to choose silence when the noise of anger tempts you to add to the chaos. Restraint is not the absence of power. It is power harnessed, contained, and guided by wisdom. It is knowing that you could act, you could strike, you could fight, but you decide instead to preserve your dignity and peace. In life, people will push you. They will provoke you with words, with actions, with looks that are designed to ignite the fire within your chest. They will wait for your reaction, and in that reaction, they will attempt to claim victory. But restraint denies them that victory. When you do not rise to every insult, when you do not bend to every slight, you are declaring that your peace is not a bargaining chip to be tossed about by the smallness of others. You are announcing that your spirit is sovereign, that your emotions are not up for auction, and that your dignity cannot be purchased with pettiness. Restraint is also a lesson in discipline, and discipline is the foundation of strength. Anyone can shout back when insulted. Anyone can strike when hurt. Anyone can lash out when angered. That is the easy road, the impulsive road, the road of immediate satisfaction. But those who are strong enough to pause, to breathe, to assess the moment before responding, those are the people who walk with authority. They understand that not every situation deserves their energy, not every insult deserves their voice, not every battle is worth their presence. Restraint allows them to conserve their strength for what truly matters, for battles where their spirit and their purpose are on the line. When you master the power of restraint, you master yourself, for it is not the words of others that control your destiny, it is your own choices. Restraint protects you from being ruled by emotion in moments when emotion is loudest. It shields you from decisions that are born out of anger and regret. It allows you to rise above the heat of the moment, to see farther, clearer, and deeper than those who are consumed by the fire of their impulses. Restraint gives you time, the time to measure your response, the time to preserve your reputation, the time to ensure that your actions align with the person you aspire to be, rather than the person others try to reduce you to. There is also a quiet dignity in restraint that commands respect. Even those who mock your silence will secretly feel the weight of your control. For in a world where everyone is quick to speak, quick to fight, quick to prove themselves, the one who chooses stillness stands apart. The one who does not bend to provocation possesses a strength that cannot be faked. Restraint becomes a kind of elegance, a calm poise that makes others wonder what it is you carry inside that makes you so unshakable, so unmovable, so untouchable. So, grace as armor is one of the most underestimated forces in this world, yet it holds a power stronger than anger, louder than protest, and more enduring than revenge. Grace is not passive. It is not the absence of feeling or the denial of reality. Rather, it is the deliberate choice to meet the storms of life with composure, to respond to hostility with dignity, and to stand tall in the midst of chaos without letting the chaos define you. Grace is the polished shield that allows you to walk through fire without being consumed, the unseen armor that keeps your spirit intact, even when the world attempts to strip it bare. It is not weakness, but strength in its most refined form, a strength that refuses to be dragged into the mud where bitterness lives. When you wear grace as armor, you disarm those who attempt to wound you with words or diminish you with actions. An insult loses its sting when it meets a calm face. A provocation fades into nothing when it finds no reaction to feed upon. Grace is the silence that unsettles the loud, the stillness that confuses the chaotic, the kindness that burns hotter than anger. It is the refusal to surrender your higher self to the demands of a lower energy. When others expect you to break, you smile. When they expect you to fight, you remain steady. When they expect you to drown in despair, you rise with poise. That is the armor of grace. It protects without aggression, it shields without harm, it defends without needing to strike back. Grace as armor also preserves your inner peace in a world determined to disturb it. Every day, there are forces that seek to pull you into conflict, whether it is the impatience of strangers, the envy of acquaintances, or the malice of enemies. If you allowed each one of those forces to enter your heart, you would live in constant turmoil. But grace teaches you to carry yourself as though none of it can pierce your spirit. You let the words fall, you let the actions pass, you let the noise fade. Grace does not mean you are blind to injustice or ignorant of cruelty. It means you will not allow them to dictate the quality of your spirit. It means your soul remains untarnished even when the world around you grows dark. Wearing grace as armor is also a silent declaration of self-respect. It says that your character is too valuable to be exchanged for temporary emotions, too noble to be dirtied in petty battles, too strong to be weakened by bitterness. Grace speaks without shouting, it corrects without condemning, it commands without force. When people witness grace in the face of adversity, they are confronted with a power they cannot understand. They may not say it aloud, but they will feel it. Your composure unsettles their chaos. Your calmness weakens their aggression. Your dignity exposes their lack of it. Grace becomes the robe of kings and queens, invisible yet undeniable, quiet yet radiant, delicate yet unbreakable. Mastery of self is the highest form of power a person can ever claim, and it is the one most difficult to achieve. The world often teaches us to conquer mountains, to build empires, to collect wealth, and to seek influence over others, but the truest victory is not over the outside world. It is over the restless kingdom within. To master the self is to become the ruler of your own mind, to direct the tide of your emotions rather than being carried away by them, to guide your thoughts instead of letting them scatter into fear or doubt. This mastery is not earned in a single moment, but through countless small battles, the ones no one sees, the ones fought in silence between impulse and intention, between anger and wisdom, between despair and hope. When you practice mastery of self, you become unshakable in the face of life's unpredictability. You cannot control the storms that arrive at your door, but you can control how you respond to them. Mastery is not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding them so deeply that they no longer control you. Anger may rise, but it does not own you. Fear may whisper, but it does not dictate your steps. Doubt may knock, but it does not set your course. In mastering yourself, you stand as the calm eye of the hurricane, present in the storm, yet untouched by its chaos. This presence is what allows great souls to move through hardship without being consumed by it, to encounter betrayal without becoming bitter, to face loss without losing themselves. Mastery of self requires awareness, and awareness demands honesty. It is impossible to master what you are unwilling to confront. Many people run from their shadows, deny their weaknesses, and bury their insecurities, hoping that silence will make them disappear. But avoidance only feeds the power of what lies beneath. True mastery begins when you sit face to face with your flaws and say, I see you and you will not rule me. It is in the act of acknowledging your triggers, naming your fears, and understanding your patterns that you begin to reclaim authority over them. With every moment of awareness, you grow stronger. With every step of discipline, you grow freer. In mastering yourself, you also learn the art of patience. Impulse is the language of the untrained spirit, but patience is the song of mastery. To pause before reacting, to breathe before deciding, to reflect before moving, these are the habits that separate the scattered from the centered, the restless from the steady. Patience is not delay, it is strength stretched across time. It teaches you that everything does not require an immediate response, that silence can be more powerful than speech, that waiting can yield greater victories than rushing ever could. Mastery is found in that waiting, in that restraint, in that calm confidence that you will act not when pressed, but when ready. And mastery of self is not for the sake of perfection, but for the sake of freedom. To be mastered by anger, by pride, by fear, by desire, is to live as a prisoner of your own emotions. To master yourself is to walk unchained, to know that nothing outside of you has the right to dictate what happens inside of you. It is to hold the keys to your own peace, to guard the gates of your own joy, and to determine with quiet authority the state of your own soul. Freedom and calmness is a treasure that few truly discover, yet it is available to anyone who dares to cultivate it. In a world that glorifies speed, noise, and reaction, calmness appears almost like a rebellion. It is not simply the absence of movement or silence in the midst of chaos. It is the deliberate choice to create a sanctuary within yourself that nothing outside can disturb. Calmness does not mean that life is easy or that troubles do not exist. Rather, it means you have chosen not to let those troubles own you. When calmness becomes your foundation, you carry a kind of freedom that no argument can trap, no insult can touch, no storm can drown. To live in calmness is to live untethered from the expectations and judgments of others. So often people are controlled by the opinions around them, their moods shifting with every whisper, every rumor, every glance. They become prisoners of reactions, always responding, always defending, always explaining. But calmness liberates you from that prison. When you choose to remain steady, to rest in quiet confidence, you declare to the world that your worth does not hinge on outside validation. You no longer need to prove yourself in every moment, nor fight for recognition in every space. The freedom of calmness lies in knowing that you are already whole, already complete, already secure, regardless of who approves or disapproves. Calmness also frees you from the tyranny of your own emotions. Anger can bind you, fear can paralyze you, worry can consume you, but calmness loosens their grip. It teaches you that emotions are visitors, not rulers. They may arrive loudly, demanding your attention, but they do not have to dictate your choices. Calmness gives you space to observe them, to let them rise and fall like waves without drowning in them. This is where freedom begins, the freedom to feel without being controlled, to notice without being overtaken, to acknowledge without surrendering. Such freedom allows you to move with clarity instead of confusion, with purpose instead of panic, with wisdom instead of impulse. There is also a sacred strength in calmness that grants you the power to handle conflict without becoming part of the conflict. Arguments lose their fire when met with steady composure. Tension dissolves when faced with patience. Calmness is not weakness in these moments, it is command. It is the unshakable posture that tells the world you will not be dragged into its frenzy, that you will not trade your peace for temporary satisfaction. This refusal to be shaken becomes a form of authority, one that cannot be taken from you because it does not depend on others. Freedom in calmness means you own your reactions, your time, and your energy, instead of handing them away to every disturbance that comes your way. And in the quiet heart of calmness, you discover the freedom to see more clearly. Noise distorts vision, chaos clouds judgment, but calmness clears the fog. It sharpens your perspective, helping you notice opportunities, solutions, and pathways that would have been hidden in the storm. With calmness as your companion, you walk through life with eyes wide open, unhurried, unpressured, unbroken. That clarity is its own kind of liberation, the ability to move not by force, but by wisdom, not by panic, but by choice, not by desperation, but by trust in your own steady rhythm.